We have another major RFA signing to announce today. The Calgary Flames and Matthew Tkachuk have agreed to terms on a 3-year deal. We'll get into full details of the contract coming up next. So welcome back to Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news from the NHL. The Calgary Flames and RFA forward Matthew Tkachuk have finally come to terms on a new contract on a 3-year deal, which will pay him an average annual value of $7 million. So we now see another NHL RFA come to terms on a pretty reasonable bridge contract after all this time of many of these guys sitting out, missing training camp and much of the preseason so far. So this does look to be a pretty solid deal for the Flames as well as for Tkachuk. This will put the Flames slightly over the salary cap based on their current numbers, but of course they do have the option of putting defenseman Juuso Valimaki on long-term injury reserve, which would make them cap compliant. But I do believe they would probably prefer to make a trade and trim down the roster a little bit to be under the cap and have a little bit more flexibility, which we reported before. It's been rumored that the Flames were looking to trade somebody like Michael Furlik or perhaps others as well to kind of make some more flexibility there. Either way, at least they got Matthew Tkachuk under contract. He's a very important player for this franchise. Put up 34 goals and over 70 points last year. He's actually getting a bigger contract here than Braden Point, but even though he's making more money on paper because of the income tax differences between Alberta and Florida, Braden Point's actually going to be taking home more money. Now, another very important piece of the contract here as well is that in year 3, he's making a straight salary of $9 million. So obviously this is a backloaded contract like we've seen with many of the other bridge deals around the NHL. It ensures for the player that they're going to be receiving a pretty high qualifying offer in a 1-year deal if need be, if they can't come to terms on an extension prior to. So of course he'll still be a restricted free agent at the end of the contract. He will though be an RFA with arbitration rights and said will be owed a qualifying offer of at least $9 million at that point in time. Of course, I'm sure the player and the team would probably both prefer to come to terms on an extension prior to that happening, but at least that's there as a security measure for the player to make sure he's getting at least that on a next contract. And of course, if he ends up doing a 1-year term through a qualifying offer for $9 million, that'll walk him directly to being a UFA the year after, which I'm sure the team would not want to see happen, which is the case in a lot of the RFAs. That's what they're doing now. They want to make as much money as they can, and they want to get to free agency as quickly as they can to have all the flexibility and to decide their own futures here while cashing in and making a substantial amount of money at the same time. So obviously, like I said, it's a great deal, but obviously we'll have to see here in 3 years' time how things go on the next contract. But at least one more domino falls here. We still got Mikko Rantanen in Colorado and the 2 guys in Winnipeg with Laine and Connor. So we'll see if any more of these guys can get signed before the season gets underway. We still have a little bit of time for that to happen. And I guess we will wait and see what happens next with these other remaining unsigned RFAs. Let me know your thoughts on the contract between Matthew Tkachuk and the Calgary Flames down below in the comment section, and we can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.